Hi. Say, weren't you the person who was asking me how I can find a reliable website? Come here. Let me show you. While the internet offers myriad opportunities for learning, an unconsidered view of its contents can be misleading and deceptive. You cannot work comfortably within this medium until you've established methods for judging the reliability of web pages, news groups, postings, and mailing lists. The responsibility for determining the authenticity and reliability of information on the web is currently the responsibility of the end user. That's you. Our founding fathers knew that in order for democracy to work, the newly empowered public would need to be literate if they were expected to vote in an educated manner. They realized that widespread literacy is essential to the success of a democracy. The internet is democratizing information, that is, putting it in the hands of the people at an astounding rate. Empowering people further requires higher levels of literacy in the citizenry. As the internet democratizes information, digital literacy has become a critical goal of education in the 21st century. We all use the information we find online. For most of us, it's our go-to source. But how can we verify that the information we get online is correct? Well, one good starting place is Google Scholar. Google Scholar sorts your search items by evaluating the full text of each article, abstracts, the publishing company, as well as how many times the article is cited by other authors to provide the most credible sources first. While Google Scholar weeds out a lot of unreliable sources, not every result is entirely reliable. Google Absolute Unalterable Word of God is still in beta testing and is expected to take a while. Until then, your best tool for this is critical thinking. Now before you Google critical thinking, listen to me. You may have to do a little mouse work to decide if a site is worth using, but don't worry, it's not that bad. You know, mouse work used to be called lead work, and it used to be a lot more strenuous. There are basically 5 facets of reliability that you need to consider before you quote or paraphrase a subject. They are knowledge of other sources, publishing body, accuracy or verifiability, authorship, and currency. These 5 measures of a website's reliability are essential to finding trustworthy information on the web and can be easily remembered using the mnemonic KPAK. Let's get right to it. The first guideline is knowledge of other sources. While reading the source, consider how the author treats other sources. Fairly, with contempt, harshly accusing other sources and authors of conspiracy or lying to the public is usually a sign of a strong bias or backlash. Investigate a controversy before using one side of it, or you may be misleading your audience. Does the author seem to have an agenda of his or her own? Does the author cite his or her facts? If not, don't use the source. Also, if you aren't sure about whether a site is relevant, read around the source. Follow links and do independent searches of some of the subjects discussed. Ask teachers or parents. If you find an indication that the author is incorrect or presents a misleading bias, you'll need to find a different source or include these other sources in your project. This may seem like more work after you've found your source, but thorough research always shows through in the final product. Your most powerful tool is your existing knowledge. Use it. Publishing body. The first way to find out about the publishing body is to investigate the symbols and the names that appear on the page. For example, Bullying Widespread in Middle Schools is most likely a reliable article because I trust and can find more information on the American Psychological Association. Other good signs include the prominent display of the publication date, the author's name, and copyright information. I may still want to perform a search on this author to find out if she has a good reputation in the psychological community or if she just has more useful information for me. Homemade websites may still be reliable if the information is cited and the author is accredited. They may just take a little extra effort to verify. Accuracy and verifiability. Analyze the information you read critically. Choose the most credible and current sources you can find. Constantly compare what you're reading with what you already know. This process hasn't changed much from the library days, except that certain aspects of hypertext, as well as instant availability of information, has made it easier and faster. Let's compare the validity of 2 similar websites. If I were researching the civil rights movement and needed some background information on Martin Luther King Jr., I may want to use nobelprize.org. I don't see a lot of blatant advertising, which is a good sign, and when I scroll down, I can see that the author cites all of his or her sources. There's even a link to more information. It looks like most of the information came from this book, Les Prix Nobel. Here, I can find the publisher and even contact information for the editor of the writing. Score. Google also pointed me to this website, martinlutherking.org. Oh, it has historical writings. This topic sounds a little biased. Perhaps links to professional journals, articles on related topics, and if I scroll to the bottom, I find that it's published by an organization called Stormfront. Okay, I'm glad I checked the source of this information before I presented it to a panel in my testimony. This brings us to authorship. Authorship is the most important aspect of a website's reliability. You should always do some outside research on the author. Is he or she respected in the academic community? Known for any particular stance or bias? If the author is not listed and cannot be found, you probably shouldn't use the information. However, there are a few things you can do to try and find it. Check the upper levels of the website. Either look for a homepage link or cut off long extensions on the URL. Then, you can look for a search box or sitemap. Look up the page info in your browser. Firefox has made it easy to find information about websites you are viewing with this simple pull-down menu. Look for the author's email address. Frequently, authors of websites will accept questions and post their email addresses on their sites. Searching for the @ symbol can help you find the name and much more information. Ask if he or she will complete an email interview for you. Your teachers will think you're amazing. The last component of a reliable website is currency. This is an easy one. The currency of a document refers to its history and revisions. Depending on your topic, information that's even a year or two old can be ridiculously out of date. Always be sure that your citation includes the last date the site was modified. More reliable resources, such as periodicals, prominently display this information. If it isn't mentioned, check the page information in your browser. If you're using Firefox, this information can be found, once again, by clicking on Page Info under the Tools menu. I hope this checklist helps you find better information faster. Remember, unless we learn to decide what information we can believe, the internet will make fools of us all.